Dear Hoyt, and welcome back, my fellow and good Americans. I am Janessa the Shining Star. Do not forget to like and subscribe, you lazy stars. Thank you. The Mexican-American War for California. But before we get into the war, we must take a quick peek at the build-up beforehand. Feel free to jump ahead, the time clips are down in the description, and my main source today is from Arlington, Texas State University and Britannica. Thank you, darlings. It all sort of began with the Puritan John Winthrop in 1630, whom spoke of the New World's expansion and how it was backed by Jehovah, the Christian God, with his City on the Hill sermon. Followed up later by Thomas Jefferson with the Louisiana Purchase in 1803 and the start of the predicted overwhelming population expansion. Bringing us to 1839, when a man named John L. O'Sullivan more or less prophesied the manifest destiny in his newspaper column. The manifest destiny. So beautiful, so inspiring, so misleading. The manifest destiny was public by 1845, but as I've said earlier, it was a much older idea. The manifest basically says that good Christian America, mostly pale-faced Christian America, were divinely ordained to own this vast promised land. Before I continue, I pre-apologize to my Christian viewers. This is not a knock at the religion, but a smear to those who use any religion or spirituality as an excuse to do stupid and sometimes horrendous actions, including manipulation. Now, moving on. The manifest was rooted from the Abrahamic covenant, Genesis 12, 1-3, stating that the children of Abraham were gifted this promised land by Jehovah himself for progress and free development, and the natives were just savage heretics that the soldiers of Jehovah could eradicate for their expansion. Now we follow the money surrounding this divine manifest. The railroads. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, yet another horrible display of selfishness, greedy opulence, and abuse of power. Robber barons, pardon moi, I meant prominent businessmen such as Commodore Cornelius Vanderbilt, Jay Gould, Senator Leland Stanford, Corliss S. Huntington, Mark Hopkins, and Charles Crocker, who later became California state legislator. Among many others, new and old money were all the fat cats behind the prophecy and used it to drive their railways, lumber, and strip mining the Pacific, connecting and controlling New Age, Gilded Age United States territories. Finally, we arrived to the nitty-gritty of today's video. In 1845, the annexation of Texas began with huge disputes of where the Mexican border was to be drawn, plus Texas wanting to be free of Mexican authority. All of this was researched by boundary surveyors from both Mexico and the Union. They couldn't really decide where the line should be, Nueces River or the Rio Grande. Meanwhile, the North American Indians and Mexicans had already been battling and blending over the land for a long time, and many of their descendants had become the Californios, and some of the Californios had become the original cowboys known as vaqueros, mixed bloods of natives from Central and North America, sprinkled in with some Spaniard and African, so blended over time by invasions, slavery, and normal human migrations in general. Because of these old world blendings and new age disputes, local friction and raids sparked easily from all sides, in turn starting border patrols. April 25th, 1845 marks the day the Union Army marched to the Rio Grande, led by General Zachary Taylor, proclaiming their invasion in the name of the manifest destiny, backed by Jehovah. But the Mexicans and border guards were not having the bullshit and fought back. Polk had twisted his invasive battle to coin the phrase, American blood spilt on American soil. In return, Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna said, "This means war." Side note, darlings, this man led his troops against the Union Army with a wooden leg. I keep thinking of King of the Hill. Isn't that a great episode? Anywho, moving on. Now, for the average citizen, some of them wanted to rise with Mexico's side and even have a revolution against their own presidente to have their land their way. And for the other side, such as the new settlers, the Union kept promising them new land and gold and all this good shit. So they were signing up to join the Union Army to defend the border for the American side. And those who were caught in the middle, they just chose what they thought was the least of evils. The two battles that began and ended the Great War for California, there were so many I simply had to narrow it down. There was Northern California locals that wanted the Union side of things, so they had the Bear Flag revolt against Mexican soldiers, lasting from June to July in 1846. Then, by September 1847, after securing territories from Canadian border of Louisiana Purchase up north to deep Mexico in the south, the United States had seized Mexico City to top it all off. This battle marked the beginning of the end of the Mexican-American War altogether, a war that could have totally been prevented if robber barons and religious fanatics didn't have so much greed and prejudice running through their cold, dull veins. Technically, the true final battles were in Baja and Chihuahua, but it all stopped once the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed February 2nd, 1848. The United States then paid Mexico $15 million for the border to be the Rio Grande, and they agreed to assume $3 million of that as compensation for damages during the war to give back to the citizens of the area. The treaty also gave America its newest states for the Union, not just California, but Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, most of Arizona, most of Colorado, parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Wyoming. That most part was because even though there had been a mix of peoples and cultures living side by side in this area for decades, long before this war, including Christian natives, the U.S. government suddenly decides, oh no, none of you average people can handle living peacefully together. That's just silly. And made 1,000 more treaties to settle the remaining Native Americans away from the white man promised land of Jehovah. Now that the war is over, the robber barons can finish their divine manifest prophecy of money, power, and greed. Those grand businessmen ensured no further Indian uprisings by way of paying fully armed military patrols and average locals to keep the natives within their reservations, even if it meant food migrating out of their reach. Pardon me while I go throw up.
You're a rebel, so treat them like a rebel. If it comes to it, I'll hire half the working class to kill the other half.
And thanks to the promises of the manifest of this gold and land rushes, no one fully questioned the expansions or moral price that came with all this glory.
I am blind!
Now the big money of the era finally got their wish. It came true with manipulation of average human beings, bloodshed, raping of the land with their dynamite, deforestation, and strip mining for iron ore. The true reason behind most wars: money. And with this, I am done for today. If you darling uncouth American stars have anything to add, please by all means tell me in the comments. Keep it respectful as always, and do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button while you're at it, darlings. Thank you. You all know how this works, darlings. Grab thy vices for the day, and a few slunches today. To California, to the working classes everywhere that are blinded by government and religious manipulation, and to the modern-day warrior, go forth with knowledge of yesteryear, and may your only weapons be love, peace, and magic. Slun. Don't you hate when that happens?